Okay, in this video we are talking about similar shapes on the coordinate plane, and hopefully at this point you know how to plot points on the coordinate plane. If you don't, now is a great time to go back and watch the video about plotting points. But in this case we're going to talk about how do we know if two shapes are going to be similar on a coordinate plane. Okay, just for speed's sake in this video I am going to make my coordinate plane right now, and I'm going to make two coordinate planes, and I'm simply going to put the plotted points down right now. Though if you were actually doing this, you might be asked to plot all of these points, but you should already know how to plot points, and so in this case I'm not going to go through how to plot all of those points. So I'm simply right now working on getting my coordinate planes labeled. I've got two different coordinate planes, 1 through 5 on the x-axis, and I'm actually going to make my y-axis up to 8. So 6, 7, and 8 on both of those. And on my first coordinate plane, and I'm going to label this coordinate plane over here, I'm going to label this coordinate plane A so that I know how to compare these two shapes. I'm going to have a point at 1, 1. I'm going to have a point at 2, 1. Oops, 2, 1. I'm going to have a point at 2, 4 over 2 up 4, and my last one is at 1, 4, so over 1 up 4. And if I've done this, I have created a shape, and in this case, pretty easy to see, it's a rectangle. Now over on our coordinate grid B, and I'm going to draw in purple, I'm also going to start at 1, 1, but this time instead of going simply to 2, 1, I'm going to go to 3 over 3 up 1, and now this time we're going to go all the way up to 7, so over 3 up 7, and over 1 and up 7. Okay, and I'm going to connect those points, and now I've got two shapes on two different coordinate grids. I want to know if those are similar shapes or not. I'm going to remind myself of the characteristics of similar shapes. The first is that they have the same shape. The second is that they have the same corresponding angles, and the third is that they have the same scale factor. And so in this case we're going to look at the shape. Shape is pretty easy. I can see I have two rectangles. Can check that one off. I know they're both the same shape. The second is, do they have the same corresponding angles? And that means, does my angle in this corner match the angle in this corner? And does the angle in this corner match the angle in this corner? And I would repeat that for all of the different angles in the shape, and in this case I know that all the corresponding angles are going to be the same because these are rectangles and they have nothing but 90-degree angles. So my last step is to find out the scale factor for each of for the sides of the shape. And in order to do that I need to measure the sides of the shape. I'm going to do that very quickly on the top, and I notice that it's a 1 square or 1 unit across. I'm going to do that on the side as well, and I'm going to notice that it's 1, 2, 3 units across, and I'm just going to write that over on our side. So I know that in this case I have a rectangle that is a 1 by 3 rectangle. I want to do the same thing with my other shape, and so I'm going to measure the top is 2, and I'm going to measure the side, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have a total of 6 on that side. And now I want to know what my scale factor is. How did I get, and I'm going to erase these pieces in the middle here so that we have a little bit more room. How did I get from 1 to 2? Okay, remember I'm filling in my blanks at this point. I want to know how did I get from 1 times my scale factor is equal to 2. And I know off the top of my head that 1 times 2 is 2. So that's my scale factor for that side. And I can do the same thing over here and go 3 times what is equal to 6. And again, I know off the top of my head that 3 times 2 is equal to 6. In this case, you can see we have the same scale factor. So we would say that these two shapes are similar. Now I want to show you one thing really quickly, and in order to do that I'm going to erase my second shape, but I'm still going to use that unit from my second shape of 2 and 6. So let's say for just a second here that I wanted to fill in my blanks, but I didn't know the numbers there. Maybe I don't know that 3 times 2 is equal to 6. I'm trying to fill in that blank, but maybe I don't know what that is. So I had 3 times blank is equal to 6. If I ever want to find that out, remember we've talked about working backwards and using the opposite operation. So in this case, I could start with 6, and I could go backwards. I'm going to go this way, and I need to use the opposite operation. So 6 divided by instead of times, and 6 divided by 3 is equal to 2. And that number right there fits right into that blank space, and then I can know that 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Okay, and I'm going to just check that very quickly here, and note that the same thing is going to work for my second shape as well. Okay, so if I have a 1 times 2 equals 2, and I want to figure out what that middle space is, and I'm working with numbers that may be harder to work with, and I don't know what fits in that space, I could work backwards. Okay, start with 2. I'm going to do my opposite operation, which is divided by 1. 2 divided by 1 is equal to 2. And again, that fits directly up in there. Now, why that is helpful for us, let's say for a minute that we just had some different shapes. Okay, let's say that one of our shapes went from 3, and instead of a nice number that I know how to work with, it went from 3 times something was equal to 7. That's not something I know off the top of my head, but using the skills that we just talked about, I can figure out really quickly by working backwards. 7, use the opposite operation, divided by 3 is equal to, well, 3 fits into 7 2 times, and then there's 1 left over, so I put that over my original denominator, so I end up with a scale factor of 2 and 1/3. And that may be helpful when I'm working with numbers like this that I may not know quite as well.